including this story. This is kind of eye-opening. So Canada's National Observer says former priest guilty of indecent assaults on Nunavut children. Or do you say Nunavut? Guess there's two ways of saying it. A Catholic priest's sexual abuse of Inuit children decades ago in Nunavut transformed a once friendly and trusting hamlet into a place marred by anger and addiction, court heard Thursday. Wails and shouts could be heard in the Iqaluit courtroom where Eric DeJair, 77 years old, pled guilty to decent assaults against 6 girls and 1 boy between 1978 and 1982. He had previously been convicted of dozens of offenses against children and some adults. A woman whose relatives were abused by DeJair and was in court to offer support read a victim impacted statement describing the harm done by the tight-knit community. I grew up in Iqaluit. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. In a beautiful environment where everyone knows everybody, greeting each other with smiles and laughter. There was much respect for each other in that community, she said. Today, the environment is gone. The once happy community is now filled with anger, disrespect, abuse, and mental illness. She called Dejiger a sick monster. I am not going to tell you to rot in hell, but I hope you throw you in a small room with vicious husky dogs and they rip you up alive. Boy, they're very graphic people. Prosecutor Emma Bash described each of the assaults in graphic detail in the Nunavut Court of Justice. She spoke of horrific sex acts and said one of the children were as young as 4 when the abuse began. One complaint described blacking out of the pain. In some cases, it began with the priest offering the children candy. Court heard Dejiger took a girl on his lap and had her color a picture of Jesus giving someone a flower. He then assaulted her. One of the victims, the prosecutor said, Mr. Dejiger told her she was going to hell if she said anything. Bash said Dejiger told another girl that Jesus would not accept her anymore if she told anyone what happened. A woman who said that the abuse started when she was 6 years old told court she would urinate on herself on purpose. The more it smelled, the safer she felt. I would let it dry and do the same thing all over again. I refused to change my underwear in my pants, she said. I wanted revenge for the little girl he hurt. I wanted revenge because the little girl was scared. I don't want revenge anymore. I'm 51 years old and I'm not a little girl anymore and I'm not scared anymore. Others who delivered victim impact statements spoke of how they will no longer set foot in the Catholic Church or let their children do so. Amen to that. Jeez. Like this happens so periodically that I don't even know how people can defend this institution. I don't know how people can defend the Catholic Church. Even with this even included, how people could still support it. Even Stephen Colbert still claims himself as like a good little Catholic with all these stories going on. And he knows about it. I don't like going to church anymore. And even if it's a special occasion, one woman said in her victim impact speech, I hate seeing new priests come to our community. I hate the smell of the incense that the Catholic Church uses. She said she recently found her birth certificate and that she planned to burn it because she thinks Dejiger may have baptized her. A picture of that woman when she was 5 was presented to the court as an exhibit, and pained wailing could be heard in a video conference of the court proceedings. Look, I hope you recognize her. A woman could be here shouting. Some women describe feeling uneasy receiving physical affection from boyfriends or husbands. People also told court how they use drugs and alcohol to ease the pain. They also said they were afraid of dogs because Dejiger had one. A man who was 4 when he was abused by Dejiger during confession told court he has struggled with alcoholism and post-traumatic stress disorder and has had a hard time keeping a job and trusting people. RCMP announced in June 2023 that Deger had been arrested on a Canada-wide warrant in Kingston, Ontario, where he had been living. They said that the charges stemmed from investigations conducted between 2011 and 2015. Deger has previously convicted of committing numerous sexual offenses while working as an oblate missionary. Deger served part of a 5-year sentence beginning in 1990 for sexual crimes against children in Baker Lake, Nunavut, convicted between 1982 and 1989. In 2015, he was sentenced to 19 years in prison for 32 crimes against Inuit children and some adults between 1978 and 1982 in Igloolik. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that name. The offenses include indecent assault, unlawful confinement, and bestiality. Later that year, he was also sentenced for historical sexual offenses against children in Alberta to be served concurrently with the sentence earlier this week for the charges. He was given statutory release on May 19, 2022, after serving 2/3 of a sentence. The final victim to read her statement in court Thursday said she wants to reclaim her life. My God. Again, I don't know how people can still turn a blind eye to that and still be able to defend that institution. Still able to say that, oh, priests aren't that bad, and oh, it's insane. It's crazy. It's criminal. It's dark. It's just seeing it. And I don't even have the words to really say any more to this other than the fact that you hear all these stories. You constantly hear these stories. And the sad part about it, the really dark, sad part about it, is because the church is deeply corrupted, the fact that they have their own lawyers afoot and they, all the money that's supposed to be given to donations through that is going towards the pockets of these lawyers to protect the institution, to protect the priests. And a lot of these priests that get convicted in one area, they just go and resort to another area. They just relocate them. And they're able to get away with this. Like this guy. He was convicted in Kingston. He had a Canada-wide search warrant. He's a known pedophile. He's a known sexual abuser of minors in Alberta and Nunavut and all these different areas across Canada. And he was still able to practice. Like, I really don't know how people, and you hear all these stories, I still don't know how people can defend it. Can look the other way and just be okay with this. And be okay with this constantly, continually going, time and time again. The same people that scream about people like Harvey Weinstein or Kevin Spacey or Jeffrey Epstein. The same people that scream about that, they're not screaming about this. It's baffling. It's baffling. And so many people just defend this and just say, well, there was just one bad apple in the mix. Well, at some point, you're going to have to look at Catholicism. You have to look at the institution and dig and search around to find out why exactly this so great institution is hiring and keeping around, selecting these pedophiles to run this organization, to run these different churches all across the world. And like I said, a lot of these priests, that do get caught, that get criminally charged, and they're found guilty of all these sexual abuses and pedophilia towards minors. They just get away with it because they relocate them. They just have their lawyers come in, they sign a bunch of pledges, they give people hush money, and they go elsewhere. It just never stops. It never stops. So as it's just horrific. And even just listening to that story and just reading it off, there's a lot of things wrong with different religious institutions and organized religion as a whole. There's a lot of things you can critique and pick on and criticize and needs to be held account. But this is definitely one of those things that I just find so repulsive that I'm just tearing away from that. That I don't want to even get a foot or an inch involved in any scenario with people like that priest. This is brought to you by Ground News, the versatile news app and website that gathers all the world's media on one place and allows users to compare coverage. Ground News gives you the access of thousands of sources worldwide, allows you to see the media blind spots, and even gives analysis on the bias and factuality of those stories. Weave your way through the mainstream narratives, the corporate lies, and have total access to find complete information that you deserve. Click on the link below and get 15% off a subscription. Be critical, be informed, be ground.